Welcome back. We're at Arizona Regional Medical Center to take an in-depth look at heat illnesses and the prevention methods you and your family can take as these summer months approach. Now I'm here today with Dr. Kent Layton. Dr. Layton has decades of experience in the ER. Dr. Layton, how do you do today?
Fine, Forrest, how are you?
Oh, very good. Thank you very much for having us. As first responders, we see a lot of heat-related injuries start coming in around May and this time of year. Tell us your experience and what you see as far as those signs and symptoms that many of our people are dealing with.
There's a couple of grades of heat injury. Most people just feel some extra fatigue or some dizziness or things like that. And if they're feeling that, they probably just have a mild form of heat injury. There are more extreme cases called heat stroke, where people actually have confusion and disorientation and things like that. Now, I know a lot of us here that are used to living in the valley, we tend to find those times where our mouths feel dry, or we may feel like we're suffering from hydration, dehydration rather. Yeah. But at what point do we then go in and see a doctor? I think that if simply getting out of the heat and drinking a quart or so of water or Gatorade or something like that and lying down and resting, if that doesn't help you within about an hour, you probably ought to seek medical attention. Okay, so when we talk about those self-treatments, then just be able to recognize when we're at that point. Sure. And then at that point, we're able to self-treat with hydration. The body tells you when you need fluids, you feel thirsty. Oh, okay, great. Now in 2002 in San Francisco, there was a study done that shows that a child's body temperature increases 3 to 5 times faster as adults, or than adults. So I understand it's especially important when we consider that about leaving children in cars. How does that play? Well, that can be lethal for children and for animals, for example. I mean, but the temperature inside cars gets to be 140, 150 degrees in the summer, and even adults wouldn't tolerate that well. So we have to be very cautious and understand, even though it may be comfortable outside, the greenhouse effect makes the interior of the vehicle very, very warm. We put a thermometer out in the car, and we were told by meteorologists that the temperature is supposed to be 95 degrees. So we're going to go out and take a look at that and see what the thermometer is telling us right now. Okay. It's a beautiful May afternoon, and as you can see, the temperatures here are around 102 degrees. Notice inside the car here how it's about 155 degrees. It's May, and we haven't even gotten to the optimal temperatures that we get here in the valley. Now imagine, if you will, having a child or an animal inside.
I'm Councilmember Scott Summers from the city of Mesa. Even the best parents can sometimes lose track of their children. But when a parent forgets or intentionally leaves a child locked in a car, the consequences can quickly turn deadly. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, a locked car sitting in the summer sun rapidly turns into an oven. The temperature can climb from 78 degrees to 100 degrees in just 3 minutes, and to 125 degrees in 6 to 8 minutes. Here are some tips to help keep your children safe. Never leave a child unattended in a vehicle, not even for a minute. Be sure that all occupants leave the vehicle when unloading. Don't overlook sleeping babies. To remind yourself your child is with you, keep a stuffed animal in the car seat, and when the child is put in the seat, place the animal in the front seat with you. Or place your purse or briefcase in the back seat as a reminder that you have your child in the car.
From what we just saw out there, and from my experience, it seems that just cracking your windows doesn't do enough. No, it doesn't. You've seen probably too many cases of children being brought in for heat-related illness as a result of being left in cars. Yes, we do, and actually one is too many, but unfortunately it happens way too often in the summer around here. Doctor, one of the things we're running into a lot is that we may have family members that come in from out of town, and they tend to not keep up with the heat or not understand how hot it really is here. What are your recommendations for something like that? People should always respect the heat here in the desert. I remember as a young man that we would frequently hear stories of visitors that would come, they would stop by the side of the road, they would want to walk off the highway just a little ways to look at some pretty plant or cactus, and then they would never come back, and you would find them expired out in the desert a quarter of a mile away from their car or from the highway. People just underestimate the danger of the amount of heat that we have here. We always have to be aware of that. Yeah, thank you for that, because one of the things I know that we tell our firefighters as well as our family is that make sure you always carry bottled water around with you. And which leads us to the fact that the Mesa Fire Department, along with many community partners, has a hydration program. This hydration program starts in June, and Warren Sprecher here is our coordinator for our water hydration program. Warren, thank you very much for joining us as well. Tell us about how the program works.
The program works where anyone can drop off water. We have several collection sites. The one for the fire department is going to be located at 2830 East Adobe Street, and that's just behind Mesa Fire Station 206. It's a 24-hour drop-off site, so they don't need to knock on a door or anything. They can just leave their bottled water there. And the program runs from June 1st through September 16th, and this is our 5th year, and we've been very fortunate that we've had lots of donations. We hope to exceed last year's number, which absolutely blew the roof off. So.
Oh, that's great. Now, let me ask you this, Doctor. Is there ever such thing as having too much water? You hear people say, I don't want to drown from water or dilute all the nutrients in my body. What would you say to that?
It's not impossible, but it hardly ever happens. It's much more dangerous to not have enough water than to have too much water. Your body usually takes care of the extra water just fine.
Dr. Layton, thank you very much for your insight. We do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Warren, thank you very much for running that program. We appreciate that. If you ever run into a situation where you see a child or an animal locked in a car, be sure to call 911 immediately. Coming up, Mesa Fire Department volunteers have given away hundreds of smoke detectors, fire extinguishers, and other useful items during the past few years. We'll show you how and why you can qualify for such assistance. Stay tuned.